Hey guys, subscribe for daily content, and if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks!
What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got another interesting knife review slash knife overview to share with you guys. This is the Maxace Medusa. It's the X06 series. I know that's going to be confusing because a lot of you will go to the Maxace website and find the X05 and not see this. It doesn't matter because I'll link it down in the description so you guys can check it out. It comes in a few different blade shapes. This guy's in Magnacut, carbon fiber, and 7075. It does help my channel when you use those links, but that's entirely up to you. Thanks so much to Maxace for sending this in. Thanks to my patrons for supporting me. And please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. And for the time being, at least, on TikTok at _metal_complex. All right, let's go ahead and get a measurement of this knife. It is, I think, a little bit smaller than the Medusa and the Medusa 2. So I don't know why they didn't call this the Medusa 3. It's kind of confusing. It's just shy of 8.5. It's like 8.35. Cutting edge, or I'm sorry, blade length is 3.5. Cutting edge is 3.35. Let's put it up against some familiar Microtech OTFs. This is very similar in terms of overall size to the Microtech Ultratech. It is a little bit bigger though. Not quite as big. In fact, not nearly as big as the giant Microtech Combat Troodon. So there you go. Kind of a nice in-between size. I'd say a little closer to the Ultratech. How about up against some other general folding knives? Any custom skills you find in this section can be found down in the description under Original, Goat, and Others. Up against the AD10 and the AD20.5. Very slender, nowhere near as robust as either, but longer than the AD20.5. Up against the Spyderco PM2 and the Spyderco Para 3. It is actually almost exactly the same overall length as the PM2 with more cutting edge, but a much more slender profile. And then finally up against the Benchmade Griptilian, or in this case, the Ritter Hogue and the Hogue Deca. How's the action? That's really important. We have a Chinese-produced OTF because a lot of them are sluggish. And a lot of people don't realize how sluggish their inexpensive Chinese OTF is until they handle something from Microtech or from Guardian Tactical or from Axial, right? And you realize, oh my gosh, I've been carrying around basically a hot dog and a hot dog bun. It just kind of flops out of there. Happy to say, once again, Maxace is delivering. The original Medusa, I guess the Medusa 2, I honestly don't remember the difference between those two. And their Neptune, I think, more famously, recently. Really nice, clicky, powerful action. The firing switch is stiff, takes a lot of force, but the blade rockets out, doesn't feel, it doesn't feel nearly as sluggish. There are definitely American companies that make sluggish OTFs. For example, the Benchmade Infidel. Boy, that is a lot like, it's almost like watching a cylinder of processed meat fall out of have you ever shaken like processed meat out of an aluminum can? That's what it feels like to deploy the Benchmade Infidel compared to a lot of other companies. Benchmade makes some great knives, but man, that Infidel is just, boy, that is a product of yesteryear in the OTF world. But this is very snappy and very, very satisfying. And the blade play is super minimal, very comparable to Microtech. Really, really nice. Some people are going to have a problem with that switch. It's very narrow. Maxace, you guys really need to take a note from Microtech and widen those switches out. It is just so much easier. And then on top of that, whatever Microtech is doing to make their operations so much easier and with less force required, again, right? But if you're used to firing Microtechs and some of those more hardcore American autos, then this you won't have a problem with this. But a lot of people are going to notice that the switch is pretty tight. Let's go ahead and do carry profile. This thing obviously shines in that department because it is an OTF. It's just the general shape of them. It's just going to be more ideal in a lot of cases. It is a little bit thicker than knives like the Spyderco Para 3. Length and height up against the PM2 and Para 3. This knife is just going to win in general because of its overall profile. It is a tremendously easy object to carry. Let's go ahead and do a hardware check. I will get out my tools. As per usual, my tools are very inexpensive and very recommendable. You can find them right down in the section of my description that talks about the tools I use on this channel. I think this is all T8. Yeah, let's take a look here. It is 6 T8 screws and you're in. And these things are nowhere near as intimidating on the inside as they look. If you do need to take your OTF apart, be careful, but it's not really that big of a deal. I used to really be intimidated by these things. And, you know, my sister carries one, and I remember it got a rock lodged in it. And we opened it up, and we took the rock out and put it back together, and it was fine. So just be careful. As long as you have the right tools for the job, you should be good to go. But, you know, I don't know what Maxace's warranty is like. I've never had to return anything. It wouldn't surprise me if it's not great, right? Which Maxace, if that's the thing, if that's the case, it's something you should definitely work on. I think I've heard in the past that the warranty department or the, you know, whoever handles that stuff, it's not super great. So something to think about, Maxace, for sure, because that's pretty important when people are buying expensive knives. But if you're going to do maintenance on this thing, at least they've made it easy to get into, right? As long as you have the right tools for the job, you should be good to go. Let's go ahead and measure the blade stock thickness. Blade stock thickness is coming in at 123,000, so definitely about the same. I think it's about the same as the Microtech Ultratech. Not anything, you know, super surprising there. And then weight. Let's go ahead and weigh it. That's the scale. There it is. Did I weigh it already? I honestly can't even remember. This morning I have filmed 2 other reviews from knives that I've been carrying, so it's all kind of running together at the moment. 3.56 ounces, which I think is really great. So let's move into the meat and potatoes here. I think I've done everything I needed to do. This is cool. The past EDC OTFs that they have made have, I think, been a little bit wider. So I've always felt like the Ultratech is a cool knife, but it's always felt just a slightly too small to me. And if you're like me, if you've ever just wished that the Ultratech was slightly bigger without being wider, this is a really good option. I love that they have a double-edged option, which is, in my opinion, absolutely what you should go for. The difference in cutting performance between this and the double-edged version is going to be trivial, right? The blade geometry of the double-edged version is going to be not quite as good as this, but I mean, it's going to be about the same. And you're effectively doubling your edge retention, which, by the way, this is Magnacut. They've listed it as hardened between 61 and 63, which is pretty good, right? A lot of people are going to go, oh, 61. I mean, listen, if we go by the spec that Laren Thomas put out there, I'm going to go ahead and say that's pretty good. That's right about where it should be. Now, a lot of people want it at 64. That's on the ultra high end, but I don't think 61 to 63 is bad, especially considering the price. But I think that's honestly pretty good. I'm really impressed. I was really worried I was going to go to their website and see that they had it listed at 59 to 61, as if it's supposed to be heat treated to the same crappy industry standard as M390. But no, Maxace surprised me. So honestly, I think that's pretty cool. I find it confusing that their options are Tanto, double edge, which again is what I would prefer, double edge with one serrated edge, which is, you know, for people who like serrations or want the options of serrations, is actually a great option for OTF, and no option for a simple drop point. Maybe I missed something. I didn't see that listed there. Maxace, you really should consider doing a drop point version of this, but the options they have are good. The benefit to a single edge is that you can put your thumb up here, which is useful in a few situations. But most of the time, I think that on an OTF specifically, because of the nature of this type of beast, which is a frame that pulls the blade entirely inside of it, the benefit of having 2 edges vastly outweighs the benefit of being able to place your thumb right here, unless your occupation includes you doing this on a regular basis. But for everybody else, I'm always going to recommend a double edge, right? Unless it's illegal where you live, right? It'd be weird. It's like you can carry OTFs, but not daggers or not double-edged blades or whatever. It's weird. I don't know. Check your local laws, right? Because switchblades, this is absolutely considered legally a switchblade. They can get you in trouble, a lot of trouble. So if you are like me and you live in Kansas and you didn't know, knock yourself out. You can carry these at any length. Listen, if you have an 8-foot switchblade, you can carry that down the street. I don't know where you found it, but if you want to, you can. It's totally fine. But if you don't live in Kansas, I don't know your laws, so you need to look them up. But anyways, This is a good looking OTF. And then we have a nice carbon fiber inlay, a really nice carbon fiber inlay, nested into 7075 aluminum, which is great. It's a little bit tougher than 6065 and is otherwise almost the same. There are differences, but in my opinion, you know, when we in terms of how it works with a knife, it's essentially trivial. It doesn't really matter to me. The benefits aren't that much better in 7075. It's fine, right? But I think it's cool. It also, to my knowledge, has a titanium pocket clip. It's non-magnetic, and it wouldn't be aluminum because that would be a stupid material for a pocket clip. But yeah, I think that's great. It comes, I don't think it comes in any other colors or anything. I think it's just carbon fiber, but it looks nice. The other thing I like is that this is clearly, I don't know about this, maybe you could like kind of squish a bigger tube of tritium in there. It'd kind of be sticking up. Maybe that was the idea. But this slot up here on the button is definitely a tritium slot. So if you want to buy some tritium and make your OTF glow permanently, right? If you're like always out in the woods and you're like, ah, gosh, I keep dropping my black OTF in the wood. What am I doing out here? Right? Just screwing around trying to Scooby-Doo the woods and figure out who the bad guys, old Dr. Willikers, and chasing people away from the gold mine again. Like, whatever your reason is. But you can put tritium in there. I think that's cool. These look like they should be tritium slots. They just look like they should be deeper. So I'm not convinced there, but this definitely, right? The blade is cool. It's got a big slot here and two big open holes. It's great if you like the ultra tactical look. I think the double-edged one looks a little bit better. It's just a plain satin finish, which is nice. I wish that they would do more shiny black like they did that. I think on the first Medusa I got, it was like a shiny black finish. I don't know if it was DLC or not, but whatever it was, it looked really cool. I wish you guys had some more options. But the edge is done well. Everything here is fine. There's nothing wrong with any of this. Maxace makes a wonderful blade. They do a wonderful even cutting bevel. This is not going to be a performance cutter. That's generally the case with OTFs. Because of how they are made and the limited space, right, you generally are not going to get superior cutting performance out of your OTF, but that's generally not the idea. A lot of people automatically assume weapon, which is also wrong. A rolling pin can be a weapon if you want it to be. In my opinion, OTFs are actually safer than regular pocket knives because they are way less likely to deploy on accident. It takes an enormous amount of force, of intentional force, right? For example, if I have my PM2 laying out on a table, right, and some kid or some fussy Karen who has no idea what they're doing picks this thing up, they can easily get the blade out if they want to. This, on the other hand, no. Absolutely not. And on top of that, the blade is housed completely and totally inside of the frame. It's perfectly safe. You can't touch the edge at all while it's folded up. On some pocket knives, you can. It's also much easier and much simpler to deploy, if you have the strength to actually do it. So deploy it, cut, put it away. You're done, right? A lot of folding knives are a little bit more finicky. There's a lot of arguments to be made for OTFs to not only... The reason that they get looked at as weapons is because they're noisy and the blade like suddenly appears out of the knife, right? That's just people's primal instinct to identify something like that as, weapon, that's, people do that, right? But that's just the stupid part of their brains not understanding. It's just a tool, right? For people who enjoy pocket knives and especially OTFs, there's just kind of a fun fascination with the blade coming out of the front. It's cool, but when it comes down to it, it's just a simple, safe tool, right? It's people who decide to use any bladed object as a weapon. Most of the time, it's a kitchen knife. But anyways, I'm getting way into the weeds of this. This is everything that you would want it to be at the price point. They've done a very good job. Maxace has applied their typical, super premium overall, work to it. Like they've done the cutting bevels correctly. The flats are even. The seating of the hardware is really great. The inlays are perfect. Like everything is exactly the way that you want it. There's going to be no surprises in the fit and finish department. I like that it says Maxace on the frame down here and not on the blade. Honestly, that's the first time I've even noticed that. So I like that. I hate it when there's billboarding on the blade. So I think that's a nice move. No lanyard hole. Oh, actually you could fit a teeny tiny, well, that's probably to unscrew it. I don't know why we have to have a glass breaker on it, but because, you have I guess, equally brain dead people who are like, tactical. It's an OTF, so it's tactical. What's tactical mean? I don't really know, but I know that that's tactical. So because tactical, we have to have a glass breaker, because nothing tactical that has ever tacticaled has not had a glass breaker. You obviously need to glass break if you're going to tactical. Those go hand in hand. Glass break, tactical, right? So we have to. So there it is. If you plan on tacticaling, you can also glass break. The pocket clip is fine. It's very shallow. I kept mashing this into my pocket seam, and it's because the bill wasn't high enough to raise over the pocket seam. I don't like how far back, like that ramp is so long, and then the peak under here. The clip is very shallow, which is great when you're gripping it. This is actually very, very comfortable. But that clip, it's not raised enough to get effectively up and over the seam of your pocket, right? Unless you're wearing the thinnest of pants, right? If you like to carry pocket knives in your yoga pants, then this might work, right? Really thin yoga pant material. Truthfully, I would have brought the clip back a bit and created a more prominent ramp, or just a higher, like the clip be raised just a little bit more, so it's a little easier, but it's not that big of a deal. Like I said, and by the way, I've probably deployed this thing about 250 times since I've had it, and I've had it for a long time, if you remember the unboxing. Not one failure. Not once. I haven't even sprayed this down with REM oil yet. It's been great. I honestly don't think I've ever had a Maxace OTF fail on deployment. So nice. That's really cool, because I definitely have experienced failures on some other pretty prominent brands. Yeah, I don't know that there's really anything else to say here. What's the final price tag on this bad boy? $238. Wow, that's pretty good. Then again, we do have some American companies that are creating very similar products for not that much more. Maxace, I like this, but Kershaw makes the live wire, and I think they're about $240, maybe $250. This is cool. And by the way, the live wire is in Magnacut. This is cool. You got a little bit more styling here. We got a little bit of carbon fiber, and I don't think the price is bad, but I don't think the price is like, wow, oh my gosh, you know? It's cool, but I think that this probably should have been priced under $200 to really shine through. I understand, like, you know, Kershaw's percentage of their knife that's made in the United States is probably lower than a company like Microtech, which, by the way, if you didn't know that, that's not just Kershaw being charitable. That's probably the case. Truthfully, I've never set foot in either factory, but oftentimes I think it's easier for people to say, oh, well, you're just paying for the name and I'm just really, really smart, so I see through that. In reality, sometimes things cost more because they're more costly to make. Right? You could make an argument that you are paying more for the name in terms of, you know, like when we talk about Microtech. But do I think that Microtechs are legitimately more expensive to make than Kershaw's? Yeah, definitely, right? Both can be true, right? So the reason that oftentimes Kershaw's USA-made products are substantially less expensive than their, their competition's pricing, their USA competition's pricing. I don't think that it's Kershaw just being charitable. I think there's some other stuff going on there. But truthfully, I don't know. That's always just been my guess, right? Maxace, your stuff's made in China, and everybody knows that it is way less expensive to make things in China than it is the United States. So I think Maxace is doing a great job, but I don't think this should be $238. I think it should be about $180. I think that would have been a lot more impressive. So especially, I mean, you guys just did the Neptune with like really nice aluminum, and yeah, it wasn't carbon fiber, it was that TrackTech stuff, but come on, the carbon fiber is not that expensive. And yeah, it was SLD Magic and not Magnacut, but was it $138 difference? Somehow I doubt it. So we know you can make great stuff for a lower price tag, and I think that this is cool, and I don't think, you know, you're ripping anybody's faces off at $238, but this should be under 200. That's my opinion. It's cool though. If you've already picked it up or you're thinking about picking it up, it's definitely a well-made product. That's going to be pretty much it today, guys. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex and also on TikTok at _metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.